Dan and Corey here, welcoming you in to Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. He, as always, is Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
And yeah, we had a big week. I don't think we're going to be able to fit everything in. I understand I understand what the description says. If you read the description before you listen to the show, which like 6 people do in the entire world of podcasting, and you'd see a topic that we didn't get to, try not to kill us. We're just average people. That's the reason we're doing this on a Friday instead of a Wednesday. I had regular person things to do on Wednesday, so we had to move the show.
Or even better, just comment what we missed, and we'll try to just make a little note of it and talk about it the following week. Because we'd get the notification. Bing. People don't tell us we missed something.
I like your call to action, Corey. That is not my forte. That's gonna be Corey's new title: Call to Action Specialist at Libservative.
Bing. You like that little wink?
No.
So what's new, Dan?
Oh shit, dude. So we have the Trump conviction that came down literally, I think, the day after we did our last episode, and I think we talked about that last week.
Yeah, we mentioned how we might get the verdict on the air.
Yeah, this could come down right now. This could take days. We have, at least I think I do. Corey and I haven't actually discussed this topic. We're going to be doing it for the first time. We've discussed it a little bit in bits and pieces, but we haven't really broken it down together with each other. We're going to do that live for you, for the people here on tonight's episode. I think Corey and I both have a sort of good, bad, and ugly explanation for this conviction. Because even if you're like the most ardent Trump supporter, which Corey and I certainly are not, however, we do have our convictions about why this is actually a bad conviction. No, that was not meant to be wordplay. I think even if you're a super ardent Trump supporter, there might actually be something good for even you to take out of this conviction. I think you'll be surprised to know that that's the case. We had Dave Smith absolutely destroying Chris Cuomo on Patrick Bet-David's show. And I often get really annoyed when people take to Twitter and social media and talk about, during a debate, how somebody got destroyed. However, that actually did happen here. There is a little bit of a caveat to that, though, because Chris Cuomo absolutely knew he was going into a fucking lion's den that day, and I actually give him a ton of credit for that, Corey. Don't you?
I was gonna say, I give him credit for that one. He went in there and got his little public lashing, and I think Dave Smith even said it on his show afterwards. He's like, "This is the best we got so far," of giving him sort of like scolding to how there was a lot of things that were botched during the whole COVID pandemic, and he knew where he was headed into. The guy's like not an idiot. He talked about how he like researched everyone, he knew he was walking into, he knew it was going to be an unfriendly audience, and he still yet took his like public spankings in front of the audience.
However,
that's millions of people.
That's probably about the only thing that I'll give him credit for.
He still didn't apologize. He kind of was out there like he's kind of down on some shit. He's a smarmy prick.
He's a politician. He's a Cuomo, dude. Like remember who his brother and his father were.
And you know what? It's like
politician.
I'm still curious. I haven't given up on him. I'm still curious to see where it goes. He still might be getting his footing, being outside of his little CNN bubble. I try to give people second, third, and fourth, and fifth chances when they don't have any sort of impact on my life. When they have an impact on my life and they fuck up, it's like, all right, you're out of here. Like, I fucking hate Biden, fucking hate Trump. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what this one does. Like, let him cook. Let's see what happens. Let's he's a smarmy prick. And I say that doesn't mean I dislike someone. I think a lot of people are smarmy pricks, but sometimes,
Like
a smarmy prick can be comical.
And then we have some excellent polling data from Redfin with regards to generational voter bases. So we're talking about Gen Z, we're talking about millennials, we're talking about Gen X, we're talking about boomers, and what is actually important to them when it comes to issues for the 2024 election. I think if you're actually paying attention to the greater polity, you won't be surprised by these statistics. But a lot of people think they're paying attention and they're actually not. I'm actually one of those, to be honest with you. Like I was kind of surprised by this polling data. But then when I looked at it and I thought about it for a couple minutes, I went, that makes actually a lot more sense than maybe it did yesterday. So, but anyway, let's start off with things learned, Corey. Do you want me to go first? Mine is not at all serious. So if you have a serious one, I'll go.
Yeah, let's do mine first then if you're being serious.
No, I'm not being serious. Mine is not at all serious.
I mean, if you're not serious about this, Dan, then don't worry, I'll take the reins.
All right, I'm going to go first. I learned that like I am unreasonably annoyed with the Jeep cult. You know what I'm talking about? Jeep people. Like unbelievable. Like because I didn't notice this until I saw like a TikTok video the other day.
The ducks
of some guy calling out the ducks for being fake.
Why do the ducks piss you off?
Like it's not that the ducks piss me off. It's that like I think this guy might have a point.
Because I've the never word. Seen... My iPhone keeps changing my fucks into ducks. Right?
I've never seen anybody put a duck on a Jeep. And I drove a Jeep. It's been a long time, but it was like back in the mid 2000s. Maybe the ducks weren't a thing yet. Back then, but I drove a Jeep Wrangler
I think that's a new thing because I had
for 2 years of my life. But even so, it's not just about the ducks. Okay, the ducks, I think they're actually fake. I think people are buying their own goddamn ducks and putting them on the dashboard. I don't think this is a real thing. I actually agree with this TikTok video. I fell for it. But the bigger thing is like the wave. Like I drove a Jeep in like I said in the mid 2000s. Like I didn't wave to other people driving Jeeps.
Do you have a Wrangler?
Did you know this is a thing? I did have a Wrangler.
Yeah, I knew that. I did the wave because I had like a 93 Grand Cherokee. It was all like oversized tires. I had a little roof rack on it. I absolutely did the fucking wave.
So what you're telling me is that I was the asshole that didn't wave to other people in Jeeps because I didn't know it was a thing and didn't care?
If you didn't know it was a thing, I didn't know you're not an asshole. If like you're
but
sitting there all pissed off and other Jeeps would wave at you and you're like either flipping them off or being like, I'm not going to wave. Fuck you, I'm not waving. Then yeah, it's like, well, yeah, that's your problem, dude.
Can we admit that it's a cult though? Is like our Jeep, like the Jeep people, that's a cult. There's nothing else that you could use to describe what it is.
You think everything is cults.
Montessori schools?
Everything. Yeah, dude, it's a cult.
I'm in a cult, dude. I'm a Michigan fan. I'm in a cult.
We are in a cult.
That's a cult. And I'm in one.
We're in a cult supporting the national fucking championships, Dan. Come on.
Yeah, well, we cheated. We'll let the people tell us. Do we have any Jeep drivers in our audience? Shoot us a message. Like, is this actually a thing? Are you fucking around?
I see the ducks. Yeah, I see the ducks in the Jeep dashboards all the time. I knew it was a Jeep thing. I was like, oh, who cares? Let them have their fun.
There's some that you don't. Are there people that just don't participate? Like somebody leaves a duck on their Jeep and they just swat it away with their hand. Fuck this, because that's probably what
they all leave them for each other, don't they?
That's what I understand is supposed to be the case, but I've never seen it. Never seen it before in my life.
Dude, you know what, Dan? It's a Jeep thing. You wouldn't understand.
It's fucking Bigfoot is what it is.
That's literally their fucking slogan for Jeeps. You know that, right? You've heard that before, right?
What's funny?
It was in the commercials. Like, it's a Jeep thing. You wouldn't understand.
I get it, but like I had actually considered getting, what's the pickup truck? It's a Gladiator, right? Is the pickup the new like Wrangler pickup truck thing?
I think so. Yeah.
I was gonna get one of those. It was a little bit out of my price range, but now I'm in some ways kind of glad that I didn't. I don't want fucking ducks all over my goddamn truck every time I walk out into a parking lot. If it's a real thing, it's.
What's your opinion on geese?
Canada gooses?
I don't know.
I mean,
duck, goose. You get it?
They're kind of a pain in the ass, dude. You got to remember, I'm a golfer, and they shit all over my golf courses. And they get in the way, like you hit the ball over near them, and they got babies, and they hiss at you.
You got a golf club.
I understand, but they're nasty. They're nasty.
They are
creatures.
nasty. You know, geese are vicious animals.
All right, my things learned was fucking stupid.
You're fine, dude. It was fun. You learned that Jeeps that it's a Jeep thing and you don't understand.
No, the Jeep thing is a cult. Because isn't that what cult people say? You wouldn't understand.
Maybe.
You're judging me.
Unless you're a Scientologist, you don't even say that. You're just like, get the fuck out of here.
Or hold these cans.
So Dan, have you ever heard of the School of Americas?
The School of Americas. That sounds like it is grammatically incorrect. So no, I haven't heard this.
It's it was a institution put into place in the 1946, and basically what it is it would say it was through the National Defense Authorization Act, and it was where 60,000 Latin American military, law enforcement and security personnel attended school. And so what this place did basically is it trained people how to overthrow governments, how to learn military tactics, like all the CIA tactics, basically, right? Is basically what they taught everyone. And so what I learned this week is we literally had a freaking not necessarily a propaganda, but it was literally a school for militants who did coup d'etats and guerrilla terror. They taught guerrilla warfare there. They taught people how to use artillery and make weapons and do terrorist attacks and stuff like that. So I learned that we had this school down in South America just teaching people from all over the country how to disrupt their governments.
How all over the continent, you mean?
All over the continent. That's what I meant. Yeah. And so, for example,
Africa's a country.
I'm going to try to run through these really fast. So, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that just yet because I'm going to tell you, so now there's a whole SOA watch that talks about it because these are the type of people that came out of this school. And then Joseph F. Kennedy was he goes, the U.S. Army School of Americas is a school that has run more.
I don't know how I got a hold of this, but we actually have some audio from some of the people that used to teach there.
If I see a black, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Fucking racist.
It's absolutely incredible. Unbelievably racist.
The U.S. Army School of the Americas is a school that has run more dictators than any other school in the history of the world. So it's really coincidental that all of these dictators of all these different countries down in South America all went to this school. Emilio Eduardo Massara, Argentine Navy officer and a leading participant in the Argentine coup d'etat of 1976. Jorge Rafael Videla, senior commander of the Argentine army and dictator of Argentina from 1976 to 1981. Leopoldo Galtieri, Argentine general and president of Argentina from December 22nd, 1981 to June 1982 during the last military dictatorship. Raduel Viola, the Argentine military officer who briefly served as president of Argentina from March of 1981 under a military dictatorship.
So before you continue, what I've noticed is that you've mentioned those were all from Argentina, right?
That's just Argentina.
That's just Argentina. So here's what's interesting about that. Javier Milei was just interviewed by Barry Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he mentioned about Argentina is that I think it was during the late 20th century or so. I could be wrong about the exact time frame, but before that, Buenos Aires in Argentina it was one of the richest places in the world, one of the best places to live, and then all of a sudden started to become socialist. And then gradually over time became what it is today and what Javier Milei inherited. So if what you're suggesting here with this school is true, we were training people to be socialists. Is that kind of what you're getting at? Or
well, it's interesting that you say that because the school was kicked out of Central America it was expulsion in the late 80s, I believe. And the school is still up and running, but now it's called WINSEC, which is the Western Hemisphere Institute for Security Cooperation. But so I guess in a roundabout way, what I'm talking about, what we did in South America is what we did to Iran for a little bit before the Iranian Revolution. We propped up these governments with our backing, and they were literally sitting on toothpicks, and the people in those countries didn't like it. And they didn't like it so much that extremism took over, and it swung way in the other way, like a snowball going down a hill. And then it got too entrenched and too big that they couldn't come back at all.
Yeah, because Argentina had like a fascist revolution, right? I mean, it's famous for like where a lot of like the Nazis escaped to, right? That's like, at least that's the rumor. I don't know how many Nazis actually went there, but like there's stories all over the place.
Either way, it was dictatorships that we were propping up. And then we let the people do their will, and sometimes it didn't go so well.
Well, we know this is true. We know this is true because it is. America portrays itself as like the purveyors of democracy, right? Like we try to preserve democracy, but we don't. We try to preserve dictatorships because dictatorships are easier
bow
to
to us
control.
if we give them money because it's one guy in charge.
It's a lot easier for a dictatorship to control the people, to make them not quote unquote anti-American.
And if you're the puppet master, it's a lot easier in a country to pull one string than it is trying to influence and pull the whole populace's strings.
Yeah, America loves dictatorships unless those dictatorships go against the West.
Yeah. Hugo Suarez, Bolivian politician, military general, and president of Bolivia. He held the Bolivian presidency twice from 1971 to 78, as dictator from 97 to 2001, as a constitutional president. And under Banzier's 7-year dictatorship, hundreds of Bolivians were murdered, deported, and or tortured, while more than 4,000 were imprisoned or detained as political prisoners. Luis Gomez, Bolivian colonel who backed the coup that brought General Luis Garcia Meza to power, served as Garcia Meza's Minister of Interior. Juan Torroga, Bolivia, Minister of the Presidency under Evo Morales from 2006 to 2009. Hernan Cespedes, Bolivian politician and military officer, mayor of Cucamonga, and the classmate of Hugo Banzar.
These all went to the School of the Americas.
Yep. Chile, Chilean Army General and former Deputy Director of DINA, the Chilean secret police under Augusto Pinochet military dictatorship. Manuel Contreras, Chilean Army officer and the former head of the National Intelligence Directorate, the Chilean secret police under the Augusto Pinochet military dictatorship. Kwasnov.
Why don't you just tell us the countries that didn't have anybody?
Okay.
Oh wait, you can't.
Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras. A lot of Honduras. Mexico, Panama, Peru, Venezuela. Yeah.
That's everybody.
Except for Nicaragua.
No Nicaragua, but now that's happening.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe, didn't Tucker Carlson? Somebody just interviewed the president of Nicaragua. Can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's a very handsome guy. Turning some shit around through conservatism, I guess. I don't know. I don't know nearly enough about it to even speak on it, but I just happened to notice that he was interviewed by somebody. I think it was Tucker.
So we just went through a whole little lesson, right, of how virtually every single goddamn country in South America has had people in their higher governments who went to a school that was made by America to teach them how to disrupt and use nasty military tactics. They taught torture there. I couldn't find the list in my long list of exactly what, like, it's like, you know what I mean? Of like the list of
did John McCain spend some time as a as a temporary teacher
of teaching how to just deal with torture?
Teaching torture.
And
man, waterboarding is great.
Yeah, John McCain probably wished all they did was waterboarded him. He got fucked up, dude. They like broke his legs and shit. And but so we go over there, we prop up all these different governments on just toothpicks, and then we pull out, and all those
Dictators.
countries are going through crazy, terrible economic issues and societal issues and ideological issues. There's crime, there's corruption, and all of this stuff. And so everyone's leaving and coming to the southern border. And then we're all scratching our heads going, why the fuck are all these countries so fucked up?
Why are they all here? I don't understand.
It's like we didn't intentionally do that, but this is literally our problems showing up on our doorstep.
So trying to spread hegemony at least through the Western Hemisphere.
I don't know what they were spreading, because they sure as shit weren't spreading democracy. Half of those were dictatorships.
More than half. But yeah, the trying to gain hegemony, at least in the Western Hemisphere, to quote unquote protect America. It's the Thomas Sowell thing, right?
It wasn't even to protect America. It was to protect America's interests.
Well, exactly. That's how they would sell it, right? Yeah, it's the Thomas Sowell thing. There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. And when you prop up dictators to help you in the short term, there's going to be a trade-off in the long term. And we're looking at it right now with a border full of human beings that are trying to escape poverty and all sorts of bullshit, but we can't possibly take any sort of responsibility for that. It's all about they're just the shithole countries.
So did you learn something new today, Dan?
I
don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
That's absolutely right. Thank you, George Santos.
Does it
not an illegal immigrant that we know of? Actually, he might be, because he's a serial liar, but we love him.
Does that make you happy?
Does what make me happy? The fact that we prop up dictators to...
It's just bullshit.
The fact that we prop up dictators to boost our interests, and then it ends up biting us in the ass, that doesn't exactly make me happy.
Did we learn our lesson?
He ain't found shit.
No, we didn't. So that's what I learned.
Shall we get into the Trump conviction, Corey?
Yeah.
I actually wanted to play, because I think this is the best description that I've heard so far for what the Trump conviction actually means. Now, whether you support him being convicted, or if you support him being convicted, you're probably missing a ton of context, because you just are an orange man bad person, and that's as deep as you can go philosophically. In which case, I feel sorry for you and all of your family, and their intellect. But if God
have mercy on your soul.
But yeah, we'll get to that later. But the people that I am most interested to hear from on this issue are people that don't support Trump at all, like you and I, Corey, but still understand what this conviction is, and that it is not good constitutionally or legally. Period.
Yeah.
Paragraph.
Not
it
good
just
for
isn't.
precedent.
So Robert Barnes was on the Tom Woods show last week. I'm going to play a little bit.
Before you play that,
sure.
You listed off a bunch of people he's.
So Robert Barnes runs Barnes Law LLP. He represented Ralph Nader in lawsuits regarding ballot access in Hawaii and Arizona in 2004. He actually served as one of Wesley Snipes' criminal defense lawyers, because I don't remember the detail, but didn't Wesley Snipes get busted for like serious tax evasion or something like that? I think that's what he was busted for. I could be wrong. But if we had Bell here, that would make things. He also was one of Alex Jones's defense attorneys in his defamation lawsuits. He represented the eight Covington High School students. If you don't remember that issue from back in, what was it, during COVID, where the indigenous guy was playing the drum in front of the kid, and he had that smirk on his face. You remember that incident, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it wasn't like that was the video at first, but then like come to find out, like it was other people harassing those kids, and then the
because they had MAGA hats on.
Yeah, and then the drummer came in to kind of just disrupt the two groups fighting or something.
It was something like that, yeah, and it was taken away out
Don't
of
quote me
context.
on any of that. I forget stuff like that. So
dude, it doesn't matter. it doesn't matter if you're misquoted because it was taken out of context in the first place. So like people are going to take you out of context regardless. Robert Barnes was also initially hired as part of Kyle Rittenhouse's defense team in his criminal trial. But he didn't end up representing Rittenhouse in the trial. He also represented bartender Dustin Heiss in a sexual assault lawsuit against CNN anchor Don Lemon in 2021. So you are going to get the idea that this guy's right wing. And maybe he is, but it doesn't matter when you.
I don't know. He represented Ralph Nader.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember what they were. I don't know if you remember what they were saying about Ralph Nader in 2024, but he was helping. He was just in there to help get Bush elected.
Don't be a hater. Vote Ralph Nader.
That's right.
That's what his slogan should have been.
Had I been able to vote, I probably would have voted Ralph Nader back in.
You'd have been a Naderator.
2004. I absolutely would have been. Let me find this video here. Pull that up.
I was chasing tail in high school. I wasn't looking to vote for anything.
Yeah, I was too, but here we go. Here's Tom Barnes on the Tom Woods Show, basically putting the Trump conviction in the best terms that you could possibly put it.
Same kind of thing, but Robert Barnes, for my money, is the best legal commentator out there, founder of Barnes Law LLP, co-host of Viva Barnes Law, where you get, just top. I don't want to listen to anybody else. I'll just be honest with you. I don't. So Robert, welcome. Glad to be here. All right, we're going to talk about this Trump conviction. And I'm seeing a lot of people on the right saying we got these 34 counts, guilty on all of them, but there's no, quote, underlying crime. What do they mean by that? Explain that.
So basically what President Trump was charged with is in New York a misdemeanor, creating false business records. The statute of limitations had expired on that, and they wanted to make it a felony. So in New York, it's a felony to falsify business records in order to commit or conceal another crime. That other crime was never identified. It wasn't identified in the indictment. It wasn't identified throughout the trial. It wasn't identified in the jury instructions. Instead, the judge said, just, kind of figure out maybe there's something out there. So that's what they mean, that nobody even knows what crime he was convicted of. Example of this, I was explaining why there's big presidential immunity issues for President Trump, including that the Supreme Court's decision coming in the next 30 days may vacate this entire verdict. And I had people on the anti-Trump side on social media saying that can't be the case because this crime was committed before he was inaugurated as president. They don't even realize that isn't what Trump was charged with. That Trump's crime was the false business records while he was president, according to the allegations of the jury, not anything that happened beforehand. But the fact that people that followed the case intently, they don't even know what crime it was he was convicted of, tells you how absurd the case is.
What is this about? I just
watched pause it real quick.
Analysis by Alan Dershowitz, who ran through the whole.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty important detail right there, right?
No, it's very interesting.
They're charging him with falsifying the records, which happened after he was president. And so
Correct.
this current Supreme Court ruling that might be coming up about presidential immunity.
Well, that's what's annoying.
Might protect him from this in the first place, to where this is almost, it seems like it is almost just political. And that
almost.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if someone's skeptical, right? Like, you could see how it could be political by design because elitists don't want to implicate themselves with any true crime by getting him, because then the people are going to cry to go after everyone for the same thing, because this proves that the justice system could work if exerted effort is put towards someone who you would think is untouchable as far as the president. Like, they just charged a sitting president. That shows that our legal system, that no one is untouchable, right?
Well, they didn't charge a sitting president.
They charged someone who was a president with a crime, showing that really even elitists in our system aren't untouchable if they're actually charged and put in front of a jury of their peers. So what I'm getting at is, why the fuck do we have millions of other elitists and politicians getting away with things, whether it's something like insider trading, which most of the whole fucking Congress does, Why aren't we going for actual war crimes? If we could get someone on something like this, we could, you know what I mean? Like it's this is an example that people in the top brass can be charged with crimes.
It's
Yet
just a matter
it's
of
always
Trump.
just a fall guy, and it's always something that
Yeah.
actually won't implicate or affect them.
It's a matter of Trump being outside the establishment. Like you can
He's
be
just the
like
outsider elitist. Yeah.
you can be like me and Corey and still think Trump is a terrible president and a piece of shit and unfit for office, but also understand what this actually is, which
Yeah.
is a political pull to try and make sure this man never gets close to an area or a position of power again, because he goes against what the establishment elites do, which to me, in some ways, I look at this sometimes and I go, that's really fucking silly, because if you look at his first term, what did he really do? What did he really do that was different from what any other establishment president would do? He said mean things. Like he had mean
accidentally
tweets.
spoke the truth sometimes, like Jimmy.
That's true. He did. That's absolutely true. He did do that. He accidentally said the truth sometimes. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's absolutely enough to try and make sure
follow
that
the
this man never reaches power
bureaucrats
again.
in the pandemic situation.
I mean, you had John Bolton in your cabinet, right? The defense secretary was a fucking I don't remember what he was, but he's a higher up at Raytheon, for fuck's sake. Like, how is this any different than a George W. Bush or a Barack Obama or a Joe Biden? It's not different at all. But the thing that
but he's reckless in their eyes,
right? And the thing that Barnes points out here is, and I think this is an excellent point, because what you see on social media about this conviction of, like, the Occupy Democrats low IQ bullshit of, like, we got him, we finally got him, and then, like, when you ask the question, what did you actually get him on? They can't answer the question. They'll just go 34 felonies. Yeah, but what were those felonies?
right?
Like, how many people do you think actually
Like
know what the answer to that
34
question
felonies isn't it just each one is just like every falsified document where it was all one
Check.
crime, but they charged him as
34 different checks that were filed improperly. Yeah. So you look at this and you go, did Donald Trump, I mean, maybe, I'll even say probably, let's even, just for benefit of the doubt, let's just say he did. He committed 34 misdemeanors. He wrote 34 checks that could be misdemeanor charges. That's what this is. You have a judge that went, you don't, as Barnes said in the video just a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah, you don't have to know what the crime is, just if you think it's guilty. Yeah,
Yeah,
each one just had to vote guilty on one of the 34. So the 12 people could have all voted on 12 different things, but
yeah, it was you don't, like, because the whole point is it's a felony in the state of New York if you are using these falsified documents to cover up a felony. And the judge goes, you don't really have to know what the felony is.
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What planet are we living on? And by the way, I forget the judge's name. It's not in front of me at the moment. We don't have Bell here to look it up. I don't really give a shit. But
This
this
is like, was it Munchin?
I don't know. I don't really give a shit. But honestly, what we know about this judge is that he has been notorious for downgrading felonies to misdemeanors. There's like,
right.
Just go look at this man's record. He's notorious for this. And this is a situation where he is doing everything that he can to bump up a misdemeanor to a felony. I don't know how much more we have left of this to play, but I'll let Barnes continue.
Whole thing. And so he said, this is the worst case I've seen in 60 years. And he says, I think it's a very bad day for America. Worst day for America than it is for Donald Trump, because maybe Trump might still get elected after all this. But for America, now we spiral downward to lawfare on all sides, people getting revenge for this. I'm not sure that, frankly, from what I've seen, that the right wing has it in them to do this. They've been sitting around thinking that
bust of Ron Paul over his left shoulder.
Very naively about the state of American law. But he also mentioned, as we read about, the judge's what he called false instructions to the jury. So what exactly did he say to the jury that was wrong?
The key aspect, there was multiple aspects with the jury instructions in general, but the big one was he told the jury they can convict Trump of a crime without even deciding what crime it was.
There it is.
Without deciding it beyond a reasonable doubt. Without all unanimous jurors agreeing as to what the crime was. And that's a jury instruction that has really never been issued in the history of the United States. I mean, it basically, he took Maria's show me the man, I'll find you the crime principle, and that was his instruction to the jury, with Kafka's The Trial. And he decided, let's see what it would look like if we combine the two in real time. And that's the nature of the jury instruction. It's not only an issue under New York law, it's an issue under federal constitutional law. It gives the Supreme Court of the United States jurisdiction to hear this appeal at some point, because it's a due process issue. Not only you have a due process right to know what it is you're being accused of from the beginning in this Alice in Wonderland prosecution that was denied, but you're also entitled to unanimous jurors on any element of the offense and into a beyond a reasonable doubt standard as well. And that was eviscerated by the jury instructions.
That's pretty much, I think, all we really need to play there.
Dude, he's going to go to appellate court and it's going to get overturned, and then he's not even going to get fucking charged.
Well, even if it doesn't, I mean, if it gets to the Supreme Court, I would imagine that, I mean, he'll be president by then anyway. Let's be honest. I still think Trump's going to win this election. But like, that's not even the most important thing. Like, honestly, like to me, the way that this conviction either continues to go through or gets whatever happens doesn't really matter to me. The point is the way that this is perceived, right? So what I want you to do, right? If you're somebody who hates Trump so much, and I hate him a lot, but I don't hate him enough to feel this way, which is you hate him so much that you just want him to get convicted of something. Like, if that's the way that you feel, okay, like, you are entitled to feel that way, right? You are entitled to that opinion. You hate him that much. You're sure he's guilty of something. You're sure he's crimey in some way, as Peter Suderman would say. That's fine. But understand what the trade-off of that means. You are absolutely willing to throw due process and any sort of constitutional law out the window just to get this quote unquote bad guy. And then I want you to ask yourself another question. What happens when somebody thinks that you or somebody that you love or somebody that you support is that same bad guy, and we have this precedent to go off of to convict that person of a crime? Like, what's more important to you?
It's that, because you know what the alternative is? Because now it's all of this stuff is going through the court system. The alternative is, because presidential immunity is now coming up to the Supreme Court because of all of this stuff, that a conservative court is probably going to say that presidential immunity is a thing, right?
Sure.
We're going to make it that much harder to convict a president when they actually commit like some serious heinous crime.
And some of that is because,
and that could be a Democrat or a Republican, right? Look at like the things that Clinton did, Obama did with like the bombing of civilians and citizens in other countries. Because you went so hard after Trump
for something dumb,
you're ending up making more protection for the next president, whether it's someone you like or dislike.
That's a very interesting point. And to kind of piggyback on that, Corey, what I will say is this. You could say that the Trump team, whether it was Trump himself or not, doesn't, I mean, I guess it matters, but it doesn't really matter. Guilty of 34 counts of a misdemeanor of misfiling these checks, right? Like, is a misdemeanor not good enough for you in this situation? Like, you've proven that Donald Trump did an illegal thing, if that's all you really care about, right? 34 times, allegedly, the same thing.
Because the numbers sound so much more spicy.
But it's like, why can't we just be satisfied with the thing that is? Why is it's just never enough for these fucking assholes with TDS? Trump did a bad thing, or at least his team did a bad thing.
Yeah, how about
not even really a bad thing? Not even really a bad thing, Corey. Who's the victim in this crime? Who's the victim? You've charged a man with 30. You have convicted a man of 34 felony counts of an absolutely victimless crime. He wrote checks to pay off Stormy Daniels' hush money.
Well, Dan, some of that money may have come from some of his people who are
his donors,
his cult followers, who buy his $400 shoes and his NFTs. That's the real fucking crime, right?
It's just, but like, God, it's so obvious what this is. And that's the thing that's frustrating. As much as is like, it's so funny because we sit here and like, I guarantee you people could take the last 15 minutes of this show and go, these guys love Donald Trump. Like, that's what they would say about us. They would go, these two guys are ardent Trump supporters.
Never voted for him, never will.
When we're actually just sitting here fucking defending due process. Like, that's all we're actually doing. And talking about, yeah, exactly. Talking about what a horrible precedent this actually sets for the future, just because this guy is so bad. He's such orange man bad. Orange man bad. Maybe subconsciously that's why I wore this orange sweatshirt tonight.
It's just, I remember being orange man bad.
I do too. And like, I look back on that version of myself,
it's like when
and
like, it's like, yeah, you came up for a breath of air, and it's like, I wasn't wrong about anything I said about him. I was just so much more angry and had blinders on for some reason, to where you add a little bit of context. All of a sudden Biden comes along and it's not any better.
Yeah. And in some ways worse.
Yeah. Things are more expensive. It's not any better with Biden. He's just quiet and he doesn't say mean things.
So before we move on,
they literally have a thing called Operation Bubble Wrap in the White House. Look it up. Operation Bubble Wrap, where they literally just protect Biden to make sure he doesn't fall or say anything stupid or bumble around or anything like that. What the fuck? That's better than Trump?
What world do we live in?
You just jumped in from the hot grease into the fire.
Before we move on, let's talk about like what's good about this, right? So we talked about what's bad about it, the horrible precedent, the absolute denial of due process and constitutional law, the fact that you have a judge that is just hell-bent on convicting. And like, we know that this is a thing, right? We talk about like police officers and detectives and about how they like have their eye right on a certain suspect, and they'll do anything that they can to charge that person, whether they're innocent or not. Like those blinders. Yeah, those blinders.
I'm not Al Capone. That was Bugsy Siegel. Wait, which one had syphilis?
Al Capone had syphilis.
Al Capone, yeah, the tax evasion.
No, but just like when detectives like they're investigating a murder and they just have their eyes on a suspect and they'll do anything that they can to charge this person.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They went after Al Capone with tax evasion when he was like a gang leading.
Right, he absolutely
murderer.
he was actually a horrible criminal, but yeah, so like that's the bad part of this. The good part of this is more and more people are seeing the absolute transparent fucking ridiculousness of what this, sorry, I'm going to say it. Some people are going to get mad. This witch hunt of Donald Trump actually is. Just for lack of a better term, like what else can you possibly call it? This political persecution, whatever it is, whatever you want to say. More and more people are noticing this, and more people are paying attention. I'm going to say that is a good thing, right? Like if you're going to take a silver lining out of this, even if you're an ardent Trump supporter,
that a lot of independents are seeing is like what it is.
Yeah, a lot of independents are starting to see, what this is like.
Yeah, like it's only 1 in 5. Like only 1 out of 5 people say they might be less likely
to vote for Trump based on a conviction. Yeah,
less likely doesn't mean not.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean they wouldn't vote for him. But yeah, so it's like, and that's what I would like urge Trump supporters to start doing, because like we know Trump supporters, at least the super MAGA folks, are like they're very reactionary people.
Dude, it literally just reminds me of a fucking Looney Tunes fucking cartoon. Honestly, I just had this parable, or like not parable, metaphor, right? Tom and fucking Jerry. Tom is always trying to fucking get Jerry, and he always ends up fucking himself up more.
Yeah.
Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Tweety Bird and fucking what's his face?
Sylvester the Cat.
Sylvester the Stallone. Yeah. Elmer. Yeah, not
Sylvester
Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester the Cat.
Hey, Tweety, come over here.
Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny. Yeah, you could just keep going on and on and on. Daffy Duck and who's always after Daffy Duck?
Elmer Fudd sometimes.
Sometimes.
It's duck season. It's wabbit season.
Yeah. That's when they started doing collabs together.
Yeah.
But originally those two were
like they're fucking trap rappers. Right?
I know. I did that on purpose. Yeah. But yeah, dude, it's like these are the fucking Looney Tunes from the 50s and 60s, and that's what we're watching happen right now.
Well, and that's the other thing that's scary, right? Like Trump gets elected. I think I didn't even read it, but the Biden-Harris campaign put out something, I think yesterday or the day before, about how Trump has promised that he's going to persecute Democrats.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Prosecute Democrats, right? You saw this, didn't you? Did you see this letter? Yeah. It's like the Biden-Harris campaign put out some letter yesterday about how Donald Trump vows to prosecute Democrats. And it's like, on the one hand, it's like, yeah, of course. Like, he's pissed, and I kind of don't blame him for being pissed in some ways.
Now you're upset about politicizing the legal system?
But on the other, dude, it's like Jimmy Dore says all the time, and I have my issues with Jimmy, but he's absolutely right about this. It's like whatever the establishment is saying Donald Trump is guilty of, they're actually guilty of. Now, does that mean that Donald Trump won't come in and prosecute Democrats? I wouldn't be surprised if he did, and I won't support that either. Right? Like, and I don't think you would.
No, why would I?
Unless it's an actual crime, and we'll see. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not. Would I support Donald Trump just prosecuting Democrats because they're Democrats? No, wouldn't support that either. Because I'm sick of this Looney Tunes bullshit, as you said, Corey.
Meanwhile, you ought to pull it. So while we're talking about this, a good segue is into
you got a
what
Looney
the
Tunes
American people really fucking care about.
You want to go to polling next?
Yeah, you have that whole poll.
I do, but I was gonna do the embarrassment of Chris Cuomo, but we can do that first. Let's do the polls first.
It was going to be a good segue.
I fucked it all up for you, didn't I?
That has been a great fucking segue. Like, yeah, and like the Republicans here, like, you ready? Take two. The Republicans and the Democrats are sitting here and literally just going back and forth, and we're going to be leading into this whole fucking legal tit for tat bullshit for the next 8 years of our life until all the old people die and new blood gets in, so there's not bad blood and just fucking retribution on everyone's minds. When it appears that you had the poll.
What?
The fucking Gen Z.
I got it. I'm waiting for you to finish.
Oh, you made a smoking poll.
That's what your.
Now I fucked it up. Now I fucked it up.
That's what your wife says all the time.
I'm smoking polls. You're making fun of how I last a long time.
I mean, as long as she enjoys it.
Now you're just mashing it.
Are you done yet?
But yeah, so Dan has these interesting polls about what Gen Zs, Millennials, and Gen Xers actually think are important, what our fucking politicians should be talking about instead of this bullshit.
So here,
because Donald Trump getting convicted doesn't make my life any easier or any harder.
By the way, not in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, not in the top 9 for any generation in the United States.
Getting Donald Trump to put in jail.
Getting
Dude,
Donald
Democrats
Trump
are acting like it was fucking Osama bin Laden. Like, ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We got him. We
Everyone
came,
cheers.
we saw, he died. Yeah, so you get this idea, right? Because like it's so interesting, like the generational warfare. And it's one of those things that, like, as a millennial, makes me feel sometimes a little bit more like a Gen Xer. because I'm like a middle millennial. I wouldn't call myself a zennial, as they say. But I'm like halfway between Gen X and Gen Z. And I think you are as well, Corey, because you're only, what, a couple years younger than me? So
89, baby. 80s, baby.
yeah, you're a year younger
Into
than
my
me.
teeth.
So you get this idea that like boomers think that like Gen Z cares about like trans issues and like all these ridiculous social justice stuff that you see protested on college campuses. And like Gen Z might say that baby boomers care about like gun rights and the border. And both generations are just so fucking dead wrong about the other. Okay, so I have the 4 generations, right? I have Gen Z, I have Millennials, I have Gen Xers, and I have Baby Boomers, and I have their top.
Who was this poll
9.
done by? It was Redfin, right?
This poll was done by Redfin. Hold on, I have the number up here. This is according to a Redfin commission survey of roughly 3,000 U.S. homeowners and renters conducted by Qualtrics in February of 2024, right? So this is throughout 4 different generations: Gen Z, Millennials, Gen Xers, and Baby Boomers. Corey already knows the answer, but I'll give the people just 1 second to think about what they think that the top voting issue for 2024 is for the youngest generation on here, Gen Z. We'll give you a second. You're wrong. It's housing affordability.
You might be wrong, Dan, because there might be a Gen Z listening going, housing. Right away, housing.
Housing affordability is number 1 among adult Gen Zers. Number 1 among millennials, strength of the overall economy. Number 1 among Gen Zers, strength of the overall economy.
When you get older, you're like, put this in this economy?
Yeah,
When
and
you get
number
older,
1,
you start thinking about the economy.
Number 1 among baby boomers, strength of the overall economy. So we look at this. Number 1 throughout all 4 generations, from an 18-year-old all the way up to your almost retired or retired parents
Basically
and grandparents.
has to do with assets and wealth.
All about the economy, right? It's the economy, stupid, right? It's the economy. And we still live in this fucking world where you get gaslit all over cable news, social media, and everything else about social issues and abortion rights and the border and it's like, no, dude, it's the health of the economy, stupid. This isn't what I can't believe that fucking 50 years later, we still have to say it's the economy, stupid.
It's funny you say that. Last night on an off topic, I was talking to a buddy of mine's dad, and we were talking about how all these wars and stuff happened. And he was talking about how he lost his brother in Vietnam. And I said, that's insane that 60 years later, I can say that I've known people that have lost people, or like I've lost people because of like wars or conflicts. And like same thing 50 years later, like we're not doing anything different.
Yeah,
But go back to what you're saying. I'm sorry.
No,
I just remember saying that verbatim last night, like 50 years later.
That brings us to number 2. So number 1 among millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers was strength of the overall economy.
Right.
Guess what number 2 is for Gen Z?
What's number 2?
Strength of the overall economy. Now, here's the interesting one. Because for millennials, it's education is number 2, which is actually kind of interesting. But probably because I think I know why. Millennials are the generation that have children, right? Younger children, they're in school. So I guess that actually does make sense. But Gen Xers and baby boomers, what do you think number 2 is? What do you think their number 2
I already
voting
forgot what it
issue is?
was, but I would say housing.
Corey, preserving democracy. So let that sink in for just a second. Who is responsible for all of this, like, democracy is on the ballot talk? Like, where do you hear that the most?
Mainstream media.
Cable news. That's where you hear it the most. Who's watching cable news?
Gen Xers and baby boomers.
Older Gen Xers and boomers. This whole preserving democracy.
I also think it's funny that,
2.
like, also, like, Gen Z, the next generation coming up, they're either just in college or they're just graduating college.
Dude.
And I mean, there's younger ones, but like the oldest Gen Zs are like graduating college and like getting jobs and like meeting people and like wanting to get a life started. And they're all trying to buy houses. And they're all like, I can't fucking buy this house.
Preserving democracy for Gen Z falls in at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I already know what the Daily Wire crowd will say. That's because, well, Gen Z's just a bunch of fucking socialists. They don't actually want to preserve democracy. Right? Come on.
Because they want to preserve democracy because they're all Gen Xers and boomers.
But yeah, I mean, housing affordability is third for millennials. Like everything. And then the only one that falls sort of out of economics other than preserving democracy in the older two generations is baby boomers, with immigration at number 3. Which is really fucking
goddamn
interesting.
brown people,
because they're all fucking retired. So it's like, where is they don't even have the,
because they all live in warm areas where all the immigrants are coming.
I guess that's true, but they don't have they're taking our jobs argument.
Yeah, like
they're all retired.
They're called snowbirds, like Florida, the snowbird. All the old people from Michigan and everyone from up north comes down south for the winter.
But the most interesting generation is obviously, to me, Gen Z, right? Because you have this narrative about this generation where their priorities are all fucked up. They care about transing the kids and gay rights and racial issues. But when you look at their
wait a minute. This is done by Redfin, right?
Yeah.
And this is households. Like, these people own these houses. So even Gen Zers who own households.
And also renters.
Oh, it does.
So some of
include
these people
renters.
are
Okay.
also renters.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then yeah. Nope. Never mind then.
So, you know,
I was just trying to put in an important caveat, but that doesn't. I mean, maybe a little bit of them do.
I'll go top to bottom for Gen Z. Housing affordability is number 1. Strength of the overall economy is number 2. Fucking super reasonable, right, for Gen Z. Education is number 3. Gun rights, number 4. Now that could mean a couple different things. That could mean gun control. I don't know what exactly that entails.
I think it's so. I'm looking at this optimistically, but if it was gun control, it would say gun control. Yeah.
Yeah, gun rights. So that's super interesting, being number 4 among Gen Zers. Abortion rights, number 5. Preserving democracy, number 6. Immigration. Hold on. Wait a minute. Housing affordability, number 1. Strength of the overall economy, number 2. Education, number 3. Gun rights, number 4. Abortion rights, number 5. Preserving democracy, number 6. Immigration, number 7. And student debt, second from the bottom at number 8.
They haven't got it yet.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Foreign wars is number 8. But the interesting part is the millennials are the people that you see all over TikTok complaining about student loan debt. That's at the absolute bottom for millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers.
Because they're already just numb to it.
Well, it's like, what does this tell you about people that are running for office and how disconnected they actually are from what the American people want? Like, what's the Biden administration running on? They're running on getting rid of student loan debt. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, according to this Redfin poll. They're running on abortion rights. The highest that's ranked is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 among Gen Z, and number 7 of 8 among the other 3 generations. Essentially, nobody cares. What is the Trump campaign running on? Immigration. Immigration is number 3 among boomers. Okay, a little high up there. Number 4 among millennials. Number 5 among Gen Zers, and number 6 among, number 5 among Gen Xers, and number 7 among Gen Zers. So already still not great, but Trump running at a higher rate on immigration than anything the Biden administration's doing. What else is the Trump administration running on?
The economy.
They're both running on preserving democracy.
Right.
Both sides are running on preserving democracy, which is getting Gen Xers and baby boomers. So, but it's just like, nobody's running on the economy. Nobody ever runs on the economy. And you wonder why the American people are so dejected. And you wonder why you have such low fucking turnout. You know, and even RFK Jr. is like, yeah, a little bit of what he's running on is the economy, and I'll give him credit for that. But a lot of what he's running on is like
He's running on
holding
housing. No.
No, he's running on some
He's
some
talking about
meaningful
he's
stuff.
actually running on shit, and that's probably why him being completely ostracized by two of the biggest political machines in the world still is polling okay with everything being thrown at him. One of his things he's running on is making it to where BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street can't buy up neighborhoods block by block, who are buying these houses and leasing them out, who is like fabricating a housing crisis shortage. I think it's actually one of my hellish landscapes, so I'm not going to mention it.
So we'll skip that for a second. But the last thing I was going to say is, but like the other thing he's running on is like prosecuting Fauci. Like, should people care about that? A little bit. I think people should, but like they don't, because people have short memories, and like COVID's over and nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like I think people should remember what the fuck this establishment did to us, but they don't. They're not like us, Corey. They're not like us, and that's okay. Not everybody has to be like us.
That's a fact. Damn, we're already an hour in.
Yeah. What do you want to do now?
Should we do my headlines for my hellish horrible landscape?
Yeah. So we're not gonna. I guess we're gonna. Are we gonna skip?
We can save some of this stuff for next week. We got a whole month to talk about this one.
We're gonna skip Cuomo. I really want to shit on Cuomo, but I'll save it.
The reason I skipped that one because I already said everything I was going to when I went on my little rant about it earlier. I prematurely talked about it, and that's all.
It's.
I was trying to think of a word that sounded like ejaculation that would work for it, but I prematurely evacuated my thoughts out of my mind. You're not supposed to.
It's time for headlines from a hellish, horrible hellscape. May God spare our children's souls.
The end is nigh.
Biden is now updating his border security by basically doing the same thing that Trump did by using the Immigration Nationality Act provision of 212F, which is the Immigration Nationality Act that grants the President of the United States the authority to suspend the entry of any non-citizens of any class of non-citizens of the United States that he finds would be detrimental to the interests of the United States. Whereas just months ago, he was saying this is all he could do. He couldn't do anything more when he had this presidential act he could follow, which ironically is the same presidential act that Trump followed. But his act is going to, I think, cap it at the first 2,500 immigrants that rush the border and get through, and then he's going to shut the border down.
Finally realizing that boomers care about immigration. Well done.
And the Hunter Biden case is going on right now. And what this case is about the Second Amendment and whether or not Hunter Biden lied on his ATF form saying that he was using drugs while he bought the gun. What's ironic about this is the laptop, the story that was once called Russian disinformation by all sorts of platforms and the FBI, was introduced as evidence into this court case on whether or not Hunter Biden used drugs. What's interesting is this is actually, coincidentally, another case that might be dismantled by the Supreme Court.
So
let me New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, where the Supreme Court is looking to broaden the scope of the Second Amendment right to bear arms.
So let me just say this, right? So like the laptop thing was obviously a double standard, right? We understand this. Hunter Biden using his dad's name and Joe Biden using his dad's name for political and monetary gain. Not a good thing. But what I will say this about the the whole, did Hunter Biden lie to obtain a firearm? Did he lie about using drugs? How many people do you think have done that on an ATF form? Come on.
Probably
Like,
a lot.
Is that honestly, like, if you're gonna,
So,
dude,
but
it's
it-
almost, hold
this
on, hold on.
case
It's almost like the Trump thing, right? Like, if you're gonna get Hunter Biden on something, getting him on lying about using drugs on an ATF form is not something as the libertarian in me super supports. Like, I'm not in support of that.
Yeah.
As much
It's
as
kind of
as much
funny
as
that
I-
two elitists are getting cases right now that might be just annulled by the Supreme Court.
because they're both
That's actually kind of interesting, isn't it? All right,
Yeah,
let's pull out the conspiracy hats because that one's actually pretty fucking coincidental. The final bout of primaries came in through DC, New Mexico, New Jersey, South Dakota, and Montana, whereas a surprising 9% also voted not committed in New Mexico or New Jersey, regardless of the party.
Ooh.
FBI, for the first time ever, I think they actually did something. They did something where they didn't fuck up. Okay. The FBI conducted a raid on Cortland Management on May 22nd, 2024, as part of a criminal antitrust investigation into RealPage, a software company that recommends rent prices for landlords. This raid is a significant development in the probe into alleged rental price fixing, which could have affected millions of Americans. RealPage's algorithm, used by over 16 million rental units across the U.S., is accused of increasing rental prices based on data collected from landlords rather than actual demand. This has led to accusations that landlords were not competing but colluding, resulting in a fixed market rather than a fair one. The impact of RealPage's algorithms is particularly noticeable in cities like Atlanta, where rents have gone up by 80% since 2016, despite higher vacancy rates. That's what I was going to mention earlier about BlackRock and all these companies fabricating a housing crisis. Multiple lawsuits have been filed against RealPage in states like California, Arizona, and New York, claiming that the company's practices have led to artificially inflated rents. The FBI raid on Corlin Management, which used RealPage's algorithm, marks an escalation in the investigation and highlights the potential for significant changes in how rents are set and regulated if the allegations are proven true. A vote to codify right to birth control failed in the House or in the Senate just a couple of days ago. A Democratic-led effort to advance legislation protecting access to contraception fell short in the Senate on Wednesday, with most Republicans opposing the measure that was aimed at highlighting reproductive rights and to head into November's election. The vote advanced the measure failed with 51 votes in favor and 39 against, with just 2 Republicans joining Democrats and independents. It needed 60 votes to move forward. The bill, called the Right to Contraception Act, would codify the right to contraception in federal law. In a crazy course, or in a crazy situation to where it was just shortly called a crazy conspiracy theory, the Alameda, California shut down geoengineering, or the Alameda, California mayor shut down geoengineering. The mayor of Alameda, California, Marilyn Ezzy Ashcraft, played a significant role in stopping a geoengineering experiment in the city. The Alameda City Council voted unanimously to cancel what would have been the nation's first outdoor experiment into the potential to limit global warming by altering cloud behavior. The experiment conducted by University of Washington researchers
Why were you about
involved.
to say glittering the sky?
I was gonna try to make a joke, but then I just stopped myself.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I caught that then. So I could get
The experiment,
clarity.
I was gonna say glittering the sky with salt. The experiment conducted by University of Washington researchers involved aerial spraying of liquefied salt from the deck of a retired aircraft carrier in San Francisco Bay. It aimed to study how sprayed sea salt particles could increase cloud density and reflectiveness, potentially reflecting sunlight away from the planet. However, the project faced opposition due to concerns about transparency and potential environmental impacts. Despite an environmental assessment finding the experiment safe, the council, influenced by community concerns and the mayor's stance, decided to shut it down.
It's almost just like spraying a shit ton of salt into the air might have adverse effects on people's eyes. And
it's better than what the Russians did one time when they sprayed powdered concrete and created cinder blocks just falling from the sky.
That's cute. I could use some of those cinder blocks, though. I wish they would do that again.
Ashcraft emphasized the importance of starting on the right foot with transparency, especially for such a controversial experiment. The decision reflects growing scrutiny and public sentiment regarding solar geoengineering research. Quick update on the pier. The recent pier we've been talking about the last couple of weeks.
The floating
I don't know why
pier.
I've just been really following the updates on this because
I'm glad you have, because I fucking haven't.
$22 million to repair the pier that was designed to withstand 1-foot waves in an ocean in an area that has surfing competitions.
Just bullshit.
1-foot waves?
It's designed to withstand 1-foot waves in the same area that has been known to have surfing competitions.
It's just bullshit.
Now,
these idiots.
What would we do without Joe Scarborough? What would we do without him?
I think you need bigger than 1-foot waves to surf. I mean, you could do it with a longboard or a boogie board, and you can like just, troll on the water a little bit. But if you're trying to have a surfing competition, you need more than 1-foot waves.
Boy, I hope he's qualified.
And then the last but not least, a nice little fluff piece.
Oh, goody.
In Brazil.
I need some fluffing.
In Brazil, they are currently replacing their guard dogs with guard geese.
Oh, okay. Well, we had the discussion about geese earlier in the episode, so this is important.
Yeah, Dan. Sorry about that, bud. But geese are now an extension of it. Geese are now the muscle of the extension of an ever-expanding state. Brazil prison to expel expensive guard dogs eat cheap. Oh, wait, where are we at? A Brazilian prison is making headlines because it introduces a security goose instead of an expensive security dog. The Wall Street Journal reported on the 6th that the São Pedro de Alcântara prison, located on the Uruguay border in southern Brazil, is enjoying various advantages by introducing 9 goose agents as it converts existing guard dogs to guard geese. Guard geese make deafening noises if anyone tries to escape to defend the area between the prison's outer wall and the barbed wire inside. It is known that there are about 1,300 inmates in the prison. The guard dog always took a nap and was too expensive to maintain, Marcos Souza, head of the prison, told WSJ. The guard dog
must be a Gen Z dog.
The guard dog, Milanese, in Belgium,
joke.
costs $7,000, about 9.5 million won per dog. And high-end dog food and veterinary bills are always short of budget. On the other hand, guard geese eat cheap rice, but they don't get sick as often as guard dogs, the prison chief added. The guard goose also provided another
dogs do you have? Like, what kind of dogs are just getting sick all the time? Like, I have 2 dogs. Like, every once in a while they got an upset tummy, but neither of them have ever been like sick. I mean, what the fuck?
The guard goose also provided another advantage to the Brazilian prison. In the past, guard dogs could buy through bribes such as steak, but guard geese are not loyal to those who feed them every day and are hostile.
Oh my
The
God.
geese hate all humans and have no loyalty.
A fucking cartoon. It's like a cartoon. Like, it just throw a bare steak. Like, what prisoners just got like a raw steak they can throw to the guard dog and be like, "Let me out."
I don't know what they're eating in Brazilian prison, but now I'm hungry for
prisons
steak.
are they running down there?
The geese hate all humans and have no loyalty to those who feed them every day, said Souza. The prison. Humans have actually used geese for security work since ancient times. He is known to cry loudly when he sees strangers and have bright eyes at night. So he has been put into watchman work that I'm sorry, I think this article is translated, so that some of the words are weird. So he has been put more into watchmen work than dogs. Around 390 BC, during the ancient Roman Republic, the Gauls invaded the Roman Capitol Hill and had attempted to launch a surprise attack at night. But the Roman army succeeded in repelling it when the geese raced in the temple of Hero, and the goddess of Greek Roman mythology cried loudly. Feeding geese is the scariest thing an inmate serving a 20-year prison sentence for murder and robbery told the WSJ. When I went inside to fix the door in the past, all the guard geese approached me and attacked me. When WSJ
my point from earlier in the episode is absolutely true about geese just being assholes. I'm afraid of them on the golf course. I don't even want to go next to my ball when I hit it over.
I thought it was so funny. When Wall Street Journal asked if the guard goose was delicious, Marcos Coronelli, a prison officer working at the prison, said, "It's like a colleague to me. I've never eaten it before." That's how the article ends. So they're using guard geese.
This wasn't an Onion article, was it?
No, because I heard about it on the Right Report first.
Oh, God.
And that's what made me pull it up.
It's just bullshit.
No, dude, there's pictures on this article. There's pictures of the guards walking.
Is it like a Canada goose? Is it like a black-head goose, or is it like one of the big white-headed gooses? Geese. It's
like the big motherfuckers with the orange bills. Ugly
so
goose.
Like
the
white
ugly
goose?
duckling motherfuckers.
Okay.
You know what I'm afraid of is fucking swans.
Dude, they should. That's what I was just about to say. Swans are the biggest assholes. Like, why don't we have guard swans?
I hit my
Those
scare,
things are
some of the
nasty.
scariest moments in my life is when I'm kayaking up in at Wolverine Lake and stuff like
And you're
that,
afraid
or
a
out
swan
in
is gonna
Waterford and
flip your
stuff, and you're going
kayak.
through all the reeds, and you come down this narrow pathway, and there's little water inlets right, and all the where the cattails are and stuff, and you come around a bend, and there's a swan with babies.
Oh,
and you're on a kayak.
It's like what's more scary, being on a kayak and coming through those reeds and seeing a swan with babies, or being on land and encountering a grizzly bear? I don't think it's an easy answer. I really don't. I don't think it's obvious.
Yeah, I'd have to flip my kayak over and hold it over my head and paddle dog away, just out into the middle of the lake, and then just
A family of swans, oh
fuck you
God,
up.
I remember one time I was before I met my wife, so it had to be 7 or 8 years ago. I used to take my dog for a walk down by this it's not really a lake, but not really a pond, right? It's kind of like one of those tweener bodies of water. And I let her off the leash, and she's I see her going over to this area of tall grass by the lake. She goes over there, and I see her sniffing around. What the fuck, Bristol, come back here. And then I hear, rah, 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 and I see her run out, and there's two geese. There's two geese just chasing her out of the grass. Apparently they had a nest over there or something, and they were pissed. And that's probably what she smelled. But it was so funny. My dog was petrified by these geese. It was pretty funny, actually. They didn't hurt her because she was a little faster than they were, but I didn't know what to do. I was about to be bitch, you're on your own. I ain't about to fight these geese off for you.
Yeah, they're protected by the government.
You got a problem with Canada gooses. You got a problem with me. I suggest you let that one marinate. Anyway,
but so that's what all I got for tonight.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. That was a lot. It was tough.
You know what I didn't read in the beginning of the show?
Well, what you're about to read right now.
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media podcast platforms. Our website is libservative.com, and we can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today. Tell a friend.
Yep.
We're seeing a little bit of upticks in listeners, so you guys are doing a great job. Just keep doing it. Keep telling your friends. Send them a link to the show. Give us a review. It boosts the algorithm. Make sure to follow us on any of the social media platforms you frequent. Keep hanging out.
What's interesting is that that read you do, it's gotten so dated that it's coming back around to being in vogue again.
Oh, reading all that stuff off.
Yeah, it's like a flat top fade, or I don't know, bell bottoms. Eventually it's cool again.
Ankle socks.
Was that racist? Because I think I just mentioned two black people things. Should I?
What, bell bottoms? Bell bottoms?
Well, originally in the 70s. In the 70s, it was
just as many white people in the 70s wore bell bottoms. It was disco era. White and black people did disco.
But who made it popular first, Corey? Who's the first? Who made it cool first? It's always black people that make things cool first. You know this.
That's true.
That's absolutely true. Anyway,
I'm probably going to think of anything that's cool.
Name something that white people made cool first. That after baseball was integrated.
All the sports.
Like, name something that white
All the
people made cool
sports.
first. I said after baseball was integrated. Name something that is I think I'm piggybacking off of a Shane Gillis joke here, but I don't care. Name one thing that white people have made cool before black people made it cool. Since baseball was integrated. So we're talking 1947. Come on.
Oh my God.
Pop music? No. Michael Jackson.
No, but yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it was.
Well, he started black, but he kind of ended white. So I guess you could kind of give us credit for that.
And he
one.
got less cool as he got older. As he got whiter, he got less cool.
And wait, yeah, that's so true. And way more creepy.
I gotta write that one down.
And way more creepy. Yeah, the whiter he got, the less cool he was. That's interesting. Yeah, because after Thriller, after Thriller, pillow. You mean blanket? After
it doesn't help, Dan. It doesn't make it any better. When you said it like it made it better.
Well, it was his name. But after Thriller, which you ever notice how like Thriller was the spot where people started saying that Michael Jackson was like starting to turn.
That's why he wore the glove.
And it's like after Thriller, he wasn't cool anymore. Or like that was when it like the serious coolness declined.
Jet skiing is kind of cool. Jet skiing. That's fun.
Jet skiing? Oh, is that something that white people made popular?
I don't know. Snowboarding. Snowboarding's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty white thing. Yeah.
Disc golf's pretty cool.
Yeah. But some of the best players in the world are black.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fucking Tiger Woods made golf cool, for fuck's sake. And golf was around forever. And it wasn't cool until Tiger came along.
They didn't integrate golf until the 90s.
And it's interesting because there still aren't that many black professional golfers. They're out there. There's a lot of mixed guys out there. Cam Champ, Xander Schauffele, Harold Farn. Actually, I think Harold Varner's black, but he went on to live. So
yeah, and then every sport that started off white, black people made it better.
Not hockey.
You're clinging to that one, huh, Dan?
I don't. Black people just don't play it. There are more and more though.
Black people don't like
there's a lot.
That's not racist. I'm not saying that I'm not just making that up. I learned this at school. The Red Wings. And
I learned it in school.
The Red Wings spent a ton of money on marketing, like a marketing research project that Detroit is like the blackest city in the United States. And
other than Gary, Indiana, but yeah.
And it's also the most popular, it's like hockey is like one of the most popular sports here. Like it's hockey town.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Wings wanted to understand how to reach, or were trying to figure out how to reach out and broaden their demographic and like get black people to come to the hockey games. But after all their studies and all of these different surveys and everything they did, they found out black people don't like the cold.
There's black Canadian. There's a lot more and more black Canadian players.
But yeah, you heard how you said that first, right? There's a black Canadian hockey player.
No, there's plenty of them. One of my favorite players of all time, PK Subban.
Oh yeah, no, there's outliers. There's outliers in every culture. There's outliers and everything. Like that's why stereotypes, like when people talk about them, it's
Are
like
we doing an awkward conversation where we're trying to be as least racist as we can as white guys? I think that's what we're doing right now.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that what I'm saying is that stereotypes exist, but you shouldn't judge individuals based on the perception of what they appear as on their stereotype.
Thank you, Miss Rachel.
Hey, you're welcome. I support you, Dan.
Do you?
I do.
Anyway, you already told the people where they could find us.
Yeah, they'll find us.
This has been Libservative. He's, as always, has been Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin.
Intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. And until next time, we are out of here.